all because of the angles they go on. But you see, you hit this metal edge in here, and it kind of snaps together. What you do is just push down on it, like this. And what it's supposed to do is by the time you get to the end,
It's supposed to snap.
kind of snaps in now. So you see that's how perimeter pipe goes together right there. Okay? So that's perimeter pipe. You can see how easy it dents. So
Would you
pretty
screw that
squishy.
now?
No. What you would do now is you would take sealant. I don't have another 5-inch one. I would put it on to the end. I would slide on like this, and I would put a screw in.
Okay.
But I'm going to show you how to do that simply because of how hard this stuff is to get a screw into because it's so light. It's not hard getting in the first one. It's hard getting it into the second one. So there's different types of self-tapping screws. I'll show you what they are now. What's that? No, that was 6-inch and a little bit bigger. So what's going to happen here is, let's say I have to cut this pipe down. This is probably the toughest thing to do because if I have to cut it now that I put it together, guess what? So what you always have to make sure before you cut them down to length is don't snap them together. Of course, though, a lot of times when you pipe snap together, so what'll happen on the job is the guy will probably come by and say, like, these are 5 foot, each one of these. So we might say put together 50 feet of 5 inch. So you'll snap together 10 of these pieces and not snap together another 10. If you left them like this, then this would allow you much easier to cut them down to the length you need them. So essentially what you do is you leave it like this, you take your tape, you put a mark on here. Now, some guys like to make sure they cut nice and square. Some guys don't give a crap. What they do is they put a tape on it, they just mark it. So I might take my tape kind of such and put it over here. Normally I'm on the ground doing this, so I'm just going to... So I'll just come down here with these. I brought out 3 different kinds of snips just to show you. These are Melco snips. These are residential kind of light gauge snip. They're great. You see a lot of guys who do sliding and stuff like that use those. These are really heavy gauge. These are called bulldogs. These are if you're doing a lot of notching on 24 gauge plus all day long. And these are called duckbill pattern snips. They're for cutting patterns and stuff like that on 24 gauge. You notice the blade's a little bit longer, so you don't have to do it as many times. You do like with the little aviation snips. They're a little bit quicker to do. They come in handy. I've also got what's called a Unishear. The Unishear is an electric shear. You plug it in, and it will cut power.
I saw one of those on a website. It looked awesome.
Yeah, they're nice to have. I'll bring it out, and you guys can try it and see what happy you like.
Yeah.
I prefer right now, and basically you kind of learn how to use your snips. Once you get past that point, then if they've got one of those, you're going to see them at work when you get out there, especially if you work in a shop. You're probably going to say, wow, Craig never showed us that. The only reason Craig never, I show it to you in class when we get into tools, but I don't actually let you use it simply because I'd rather see you learning how to cut your snips first before I show you. Anyway, so what I'll quite often do with this is where's those aluminum snips? Are they there? The Melco ones?
Right here.
So these are the ones I always carry around. These especially do residential because these will go through light gauge, pretty quick and simple. So what I usually do is usually you always want to incorporate the small end. This is the small end, that's the large end because of the bead. It's okay, I don't need it. What I usually do is I just pick them right. A lot of cases it's not that critical that you're like right bang on. You can be 12 and 1/16, 11 and 3/4. And what I'll do then is once I get this, I'll just start cutting through this. Now, usually what I try to do, and you see I'm definitely cutting straight. I might not be, I might be. This is why if it's critical to you that you do be straight, then you would mark 12 and then 12 and 12 and you kind of roll up to each one of the cuts. So you're going to put one of these and the objective. Now here's where I get a little worried because my hand is right here on this edge and this is where it's usually the sharpest right here. So sometimes what you can do is some guys will turn around and then just cut back the other way. So they try to take a look at where they're at and see if they're pretty close. And then they just, now where I cut this though, there's what right there, you know what that is?
That's amazing.
It's a giant man eater right there. That thing will cut me to bits if I'm not careful. So my advice to you is when you get that, either A, you take your snips, your little snips, or B, try not to do that in the first place, and just try to trim that away if you can, and then you'll see how sharp this edge essentially is. This thing's razor blade sharp, guys. And that's why residentially, you start using this stuff, it's nasty. So now when I put this together, you can see that I'm pretty close. I'm a little bit out there. But for the most part, what's going to happen is I would most likely do this now. So there's that put together, the length that I would want it to be. When I attach this now to the other piece, what would happen is I would snap this together and that would go in that particular direction. So if you guys
And then you
want
just
to,
put screws in here.
yeah, no, the screws, well, they would go because
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
slide over
yeah, I
top.
follow.
Small end will go in here and I put the screws in here. I've also got a piece of spiral pipe. Just wanted to show you. We haven't really gotten in pipe yet for a second. So what I did was I took a piece of pipe and I